Luke Grimes gets exciting update for return to Yellowstone. What we know about his spin-off. Yellowstone fans are getting one step closer to seeing some of their favorite Yellowstone characters back on the screen, in more ways than one. Many were heartbroken last year to learn that the show, which first premiered in 2018 and starred Kevin Costner for all but the last season, would be coming to an end after 5 seasons and 53 episodes. This week, as CBS hosted a press conference at the Paramount lot to discuss their new slate of shows for the 2025 to 2026 season, fans finally got more details on Luke's spin-off, which will be titled Y. Marshals. Unlike the other shows in the Yellowstone universe, which air on Paramount+, Luke will be bringing his character Case Dutton to network television. Though an exact premiere date has not been given just yet, the show will air on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. CBS further shared that the show's logline reads, "Combining his skills as a cowboy and Navy SEAL to bring range justice to Montana, where he and his teammates must balance family, duty, and the high psychological cost that comes with serving as the last line of defense in the region's war on violence." Though no additional cast members have been disclosed yet, on Yellowstone, Luke's character Case was married to Kelsey Asbill's character Monica, and they shared a son, Tate, played by Breckin Merrill. Luke had previously played coy when asked about the possibility of a spin-off, telling people in November that there's always rumblings. "I think when anything is this successful, there's a pressure to keep it going because they know they have an audience, and that's what they're looking for," he further shared at the time, though emphasized. But it all comes down to Taylor Sheridan's vision. He has to see it to be able to write it, and I don't think he's going to write something that he doesn't want to. Basically, we're just going to see if Taylor has an idea that he gets excited about, and that's going to make all the difference here, he added. Also currently part of the Yellowstone universe are 1883, a one-season prequel starring Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, 1923, a prequel with Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford, and the forthcoming spin-offs 6666, 1944, and The Madisons, starring Michelle Pfeiffer. The wind had changed in Montana. It wasn't something most folks could explain, but those who'd lived under that big, endless sky knew it when it happened. The kind of change that rustled through the pines like a whisper of something old returning, something sacred. And on this particular day, it came riding in with a shadowed pickup truck, crunching its way up the gravel road to the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Behind the wheel sat Case Dutton. Luke Grimes' silhouette had been missed, his lean frame, the way he carried the weight of the world with a soldier's silence. Fans had speculated endlessly. Where was Case? Was he dead? Lost? Run off into the vision world again, chasing ghosts of future paths he never wanted to choose. But now he was here, dust-covered boots back on the land that made him and nearly broke him. And as the first rays of dawn cut across the ridges and bathed the barn in gold, it was like the prodigal son had returned. Not with a feast waiting, no. With fire in the air and battle brewing. Luke Grimes stepped out of the truck like a man who never left, the camera catching every grain of grit on his face, the grief in his eyes, and the slow, aching breath he took as he gazed out over the fields of his father's empire. Inside the house, Monica sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling with anticipation. Tate, older now, heard the engine before she did, and sprinted toward the window. "Mom, it's him." She didn't respond. She couldn't. Her world had been suspended in a prayer for months, caught in that liminal space between believing Case would come back and fearing he wouldn't. When the door opened and his boots hit the wooden floor, she finally exhaled. Case didn't say anything right away. He looked at her, at their son, at the worn blanket tossed across the couch, the drawings on the fridge, the life they tried to keep alive without him. And then he spoke, not like a cowboy or a war hero, but like a man who'd seen the abyss and still chose love. "I couldn't stay gone." She ran to him, and the silence cracked like a dam. Tate wrapped around his waist. The family was whole again, at least for a moment. But this was Yellowstone, and peace never came without a price. Behind the scenes, Luke Grimes' return to Yellowstone was met with as much weight as Case's on-screen homecoming. His absence had left a hole in the narrative, a wound fans felt acutely. Showrunner Taylor Sheridan had played it close to the chest, letting rumors swirl like cattle dust. Contract negotiations, scheduling conflicts, the possibility of Case's death in a final season tragedy. But none of it stuck. Luke's return had to happen. It was happening. And when he stepped back on that soundstage-turned ranch, even the crew went quiet. Cameras adjusted, scripts were shuffled. Costume racks rustled with that familiar denim and leather. It was like time reset itself to bring the show's soulful heart back into alignment. Case is the conscience of the Duttons, Sheridan told the cast, pacing behind a monitor. Without him, there's no moral compass, no hope. And in the scenes that followed, Luke Grimes reminded everyone why. Back on the ranch, John Dutton stood outside the barn, weathered by time and war and politics, leaning on a fence like a general watching ghosts ride up the valley. "You look like hell," John said as Case approached. "So do you," Case replied. They didn't hug. Dutton men rarely did. But the silence between them was thick with everything they didn't say. "I missed you. I need you. We're running out of time." "There's something coming," John said, his eyes narrowing toward the horizon. "Big, and I can't fight it alone." Case nodded. "I didn't come back to run." The two Duttons stared out across the land, as if they could already see the storm brewing. Corporate buyouts, land grabs, betrayals, blood. The fans would get what they'd waited for, a return not just of a character, but of a soul. Luke Grimes didn't just bring Case back, he revived the show's beating heart. The man caught between worlds. The soldier turned protector. The father, the husband, the wolf. And if the rumors were true, this final chapter of Yellowstone would be its most brutal and its most beautiful. There was a moment in episode 6, and now iconic scene, where Case sits alone on a bluff, a hawk circling overhead, a fire dying in front of him. Monica approaches, sits beside him, takes his hand. "Are we staying?" she asks. He looks at her, at the fire, then out toward the valley where his ancestors walked, where his brother's blood stained the dirt, where visions once showed him 2 paths. "No," he says softly. "We're fighting." And with that line, the final arc of Yellowstone clicked into place. The Dutton legacy wasn't about survival anymore. It was about resistance. Case wasn't just back. He was the fulcrum, the one who could destroy the ranch or save it. Behind the scenes, Luke Grimes kept it humble. He told press he was honored to return, that Case was a part of him he wasn't ready to let go of. He spoke about the cast as family, about the land as a character in itself. And when asked how it felt stepping back into the saddle, his answer was simple, like coming home. By the season's end, fans knew one thing for sure. Yellowstone without Case Dutton was a Western without a horizon. Luke Grimes didn't just ride back into the story, he gave it purpose again. And as that final sun set over the Dutton ranch, Case stood alone on the porch, rifle slung, eyes watchful. A man with both past and future etched into his face. The wolf had returned.